Welcome to Newsmakers. I'm your host, Lisa Oligas. In this edition, we explore the world of CBD. Cannabidiol, or CBD, is the second most prevalent active ingredient in cannabis or marijuana. While CBD is an essential component of medical marijuana, the two are not exactly the same thing. CBD is derived from the hemp plant, a cousin of marijuana, or can be manufactured in a laboratory. Today, we talk with experts on CBD to learn the similarities and differences with medical marijuana and how people can confuse the two. We'll visit with patients who have found success with using CBD products and learn about its various applications. We begin our conversation with registered nurse Alice Mangan, who operates Alice CBD, a store that sells CBD products that produced both locally and nationally. Thanks for being here, Alice.
Thank you for having me, Miss Lisa.
So we need to tell your story because you personally had a journey that involved CBD. And so you were experiencing a life-changing ailment you had MS.
Correct.
So how did you get involved with CBD at that time?
So in about 2009, I had already suffered a lot of ailments like fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, thyroid issues. I had carpal tunnel. I was having degenerative disc disease as well as arthritis. Then, all at once, and maybe not all at once, some things put me on the path that took me downhill even further than what I was. And
to the point of being bedridden.
To the point of being bedridden or stuck on the couch, and very limited in my mobility and activity, as well as my mental faculties suffered from the multiple sclerosis diagnosis that I did wind up getting in 2009. Some of that was getting lost driving home from work. Some of it was starting to have seizures. Those kind of things is where pharmaceuticals was still letting me down before that, and then I definitely, tried the path of pharmaceuticals for the MS to hopefully slow down the progression and or reverse it. It didn't help. I actually developed more disabilities from taking those injections, and I was about ready to give up.
Yeah. So you learned about CBD. It has obviously changed who you are. You are on a much bigger path to wellness. I mean, you now operate a store that sells CBD. So tell us, how it worked for you and why you felt it was so important to share this with others.
I actually had went out with 21 other veterans from the state of Missouri to represent 22 veterans a day that complete suicide, and it's because of opiates or mental health concerns. I was willing to look at cannabis or marijuana and the THC and didn't even really understand, or even I don't even know if I knew CBD existed very much, or definitely not to the extent that I know now. And in that same time frame, I had somebody else that needed to use something that was not going to make them test a hot test or a failed drug test.
Right, because marijuana, for those who work for the federal government or those who drive, it's still illegal for them to test positive for it, correct?
Correct. And even in the state of Missouri at this time in 2017, we didn't have a medical marijuana program. And we were just touching on CBD, but I knew it was out there, I knew it existed. We tried about 5 different oils in 2 different pill forms, and they wasn't the strength, or even I'm not even sure what was in some of them, honestly, because it was kind of the wild, wild west, and we was left to just navigate on our own. And in that, finding just a CBD, I learned that CBD was more of what tripped my triggers, especially when I learned about how it works differently than the THC, and that it's not a one size fits all, and it's not like a one shot and you feel it. It's actually a cumulative modality that we used.
So let's talk about the differences, because now that medical marijuana is legal in many states and in Missouri, there are people who think that and CBD might be interchangeable, but they're not. Tell us why they're different, how they're different.
Well, they're 2 different molecules. They are both cannabinoids or cannabinoids that come from the plant. THC, what it does is it uses different receptors, but especially the CB1 and CB2 receptor. CB1 is where it's mostly populating the brain and our spinal cord, and we actually have more of these type of receptors than any other neurotransmitter receptors in the brain and spinal cord. With that, when we use a THC molecule, it actually causes some things like that elevation of feeling, maybe a little increased heart rate. And usually what comes along with that is we feel high or elevated, or some people go to the point of feeling very inebriated or stoned. With CBD, it doesn't even actually bind in one of those receptors. It actually binds on the side of those receptors and in a different way. So when it exhibits its reactions, it's not going to cause that mood changing or mood I don't want to say mood altering, because it absolutely can alter your mood in the best ways, meaning you can feel lighter and happier, or even less anxious, or even less pain.
But not necessarily a high.
But you're not going to feel high, stoned, or in anywhere impaired or intoxicated.
So it can be safer to use if you need to be driving and other
Absolutely,
functioning.
absolutely. Plus, the way it works is it works in every cell in the body, versus THC mostly needs a receptor. And in meaning that it works in every cell in the body, it goes all the way to the DNA level. THC doesn't quite do that. And so I see a lot of people that come to me that have used marijuana or weed or pot or any of these other slang terms that we use for it, that still get cancer, that still have arthritis, that still have issues, because again, CBD is where they come and they get relief with it when they understand how to use it properly, because it's working differently in the body, in the gut, and in these cells, and we can kind of get more out of it.
As a nurse and an RN, did that give you a different perspective when you were looking at this as options, because you've had regular medical treatments?
Oh, absolutely. So at first, I was kind of of the mindset, good people don't do bad things. So even going to look at cannabis in a state that was legal was a little scary. Once I learned about CBD being available and legal in all 50 states, I wanted to look at it. And I was a little bit kind of, in nursing, we had a little bit of holistic care. It was probably like one chapter that talked about these different things, and they included massage therapy and Reiki healing and all kinds of things. And this seemed a little bit out there as well. But when I went and saw the difference in myself in Colorado for that 4 days, I came back and knew that I had to share that I may be onto something. And it proved itself within 1 year. A business started out of it, and I had person after person come into my house, still in between my naps and such, because I still had narcolepsy, I still had MS symptoms and issues that were keeping me down the first, couple of years of this. But so many people could see the transformation already taking place, that even if you could just have a happy day for 1 day out of those 7, it was worth trying this thing that might get you high, might not get you high. We didn't know,
Right.
Now we know so much more, and we have so many better ways of testing products and ensuring the safety, and so much more education on what types of meds they could interact with or symbiotically work with to actually get the better benefits, and maybe on lower doses of scripts with better outcomes.
Well, I know your mantra is educate before medicate, so thank you for sharing all this information. And when we come back, we will welcome 2 CBD patients who join us in set, but we also have the chance to visit with 4 other patients at Alice CBD, her store, who say the non-pharmaceutical products have been life-changing.
I was given, if something didn't change drastically, around 6 months, if that, to live. I was on an oxygen tank. I was taking 16 pharmaceuticals, and I wanted to die. I really wanted to die.
Sometimes I just wake up and I'm just mad at the world and don't know why.
I've had numerous suicide attempts with my PTSD. Nobody thought I was going to get better.
I can't explain to you. I mean, I have circulation and blood clotting issues, and 5 autoimmune diseases, and it's helped me so much with the pain. I'm just grateful. I'm really grateful to Alice CBD.
4 different patients suffering different kinds of pain and the emotional stress often tied to it, all finding help through CBD products. Jason Hamlin's health issues began at the age of 10 when he developed a blood clotting disorder. Things got worse after the Joplin tornado.
I developed a lung disease called sarcoidosis, and then it went into my neurological system, and it became neurological sarcoidosis. And so I went to Cleveland Clinic and Mayo Clinic and Barnes Jewish, and I've been all over the United States seeking the best health care that I could find. And, coming from a medical family, my dad's a physician as well, it was really hard for me to go away from the everyday pills, that you take to try and get better. But, and then after you get one autoimmune disease, I think it just starts to stack up. And, there just wasn't anything working.
Jason and others get help from nurse Alice Mangan, who opened a store with a variety of products called Alice CBD. She explains there are differences between marijuana, which has the THC molecule, and the CBD molecule, even though both come from the cannabis plant. She says patients like CBD because
It does not cause a psycho-hallucinogenic effect. It doesn't cause a psycho-inebriating effect, so you're not going to feel high from it. you just might feel lighter and hopefully less pain or anxiety or whatever you hope to achieve, as a goal with that.
I think insurance ought to pay for it. It's something that works well.
Jason still has problems, but he's gone from bed rest and being in a wheelchair to being able to do normal things.
Drive and take my daughter to school and to other things, and we went to Silver Dollar City the other day, and I didn't have to ride in a wheelchair. It's a journey, I shouldn't be alive, and I am, and I got to give credit, like I said, to, I've had some good doctors too, but, this is what really made the change whenever I started using these products.
The levels of CBD can change from product to product and can be designed to meet the needs of a specific patient. Alice even teaches classes on how to make unique applications.
Just as you probably have a medicine cabinet full of, you might have some Tylenol and some ibuprofen and a topical cream for this and a toothpaste for that. You have quite a few different products for different concerns or complaints. And that's kind of how ours is, and that's why we could say we probably have 10 top-selling products.
Georgia Baker had tried cannabis as she was fighting breast cancer, but she ventured into CBD products for her anxiety, along with a broken hand.
I got the cast taken off. I came up here to the Web City store, and she's like, "Here, let me put some of these drops on there." And it was the BCP and the CBD. And we were talking for probably 4.5 minutes. And I looked down at my hand and half the swelling was gone, just gone. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to start using this. Since I'm a massage therapist, I started using it on my clients. I had good reviews. If I happen to wake up in the middle of the night, then I can take some of the paste or a dropper full of CBD, and it'll usually put me back to sleep, and I don't wake up with a hangover.
Georgia says she experienced that hangover or side effects from many of the drugs she was prescribed for mental health issues.
And side effects that would, swell you up 100 pounds, or you can't get off the couch, or, you can't take care of your kids. And like I said, I was on disability for 11 years almost, and I went back to work after going through massage school, and I had social anxiety, and I started taking a little CBD, just a couple little drops, and you don't get high. You just, and then you go to work and you do your thing, and and it wears off and you don't even notice.
Dora Burge found her way to CBD as she battled multiple disease diagnoses.
Multiple sclerosis. I have degenerative disc disease. I have 14 bone spurs along either side of my spine, so like 7 and 7. They just kind of war with each other.
Burge says CBD products helped and gave her energy to lose weight, nearly 150 pounds, changing her life for the better.
I have a lot more energy. I have a lot more stamina. I am playing on the floor with my grandkids. I am enjoying life.
She shows off scars from surgery to remove excess skin after her major weight loss, surgery she had without post-op pain medication.
I was having a series of car accidents from being over-medicated. One of them, I had fractured my knees and my hip. I flipped 6 times. It was a really bad one, that last one. And that was the catalyst of me saying enough was enough, and I need to have something better.
Kenny Sweet is a relatively new customer of CBD products. A veteran, he credits it with keeping his marriage from collapsing.
I had a lot of PTSD, very anxious, very on guard all the time, and I started to take a toll on my marriage, and it really upset my wife, and she said I needed to do something. You go to the VA and they tried to give me a whole bunch of pills, antidepressants and all that stuff, and I just wasn't about that because I don't necessarily agree with that. I'm more of a holistic approach. D9 THC gummies. I've had night terrors off and on since I got out of Afghanistan in 2013, and for the most part I could never really go back to sleep. I took about a bite of the corner off when I woke up, and I just couldn't get back to sleep. And I went to sleep, and it was very fantastic sleep. Not like I'm so high I gotta sleep, but it was a very relaxing sleep that helped me a lot.
All 4 of these patients shared their stories of pain and healing in order to help others suffering.
It's really a safe product in my mind, and what it's done for me is just a testimony. People that know me know what I've been through. I was nearly on hospice 2 years ago.
Thank you very much.
And so, until I started going with natural things, It's just really changed my life.
Wish there was something more I could do. Hopefully there's a bunch of veterans watching this that are wanting to get rid of those antidepressant pills and take this holistic approach. I'm telling you guys, it helps.
Welcome back to Newsmakers. Patients have various reasons for trying CBD products. Joining our discussion now are two women with their own stories of how CBD impacts their lives. We welcome Melissa Bowman, a breast cancer survivor, and Melissa Rush, who suffered a traumatic brain injury from a zip-lining fall. Ladies, thank you both for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
So a zip-lining fall, that sounds crazy, but it wasn't even just a traumatic brain injury. Tell us some of the other injuries you had and the pain that obviously that creates for you.
Altogether, it was 14 broken bones, 7 in my spine that are still broken, and the traumatic brain injury was the hardest thing to recover from, in my opinion. But a lot of depression comes with having that many broken bones and not being able to use your brain the way that you used to be able to use it.
And so CBD has helped in which ways?
The first way that it helped is it kind of helped lift me out of that depression when I couldn't get out of bed. My bones, I couldn't, I was too hurt. I just had so much pain. When I started taking CBD, it decreased the pain small amounts enough. I couldn't tell it was happening at the time. I just knew I was able to get out of bed finally one day. And then at that point, I realized CBD was working. And then I found the CBD that was the right one for me, because there's a lot of different CBD out there. Alice's CBD that has the BCP in it is what my body needed. And within 3 weeks, some of the pain, I hyperextended my elbow, and the pain in that I never thought would go away. Every time I drank water, I could feel it. But 3 weeks later, it was gone, and it just shocked me. So, yeah, and then I've just kept getting better since then.
Excellent. So, Ms. Bowman, tell us about your situation. You've had cancer for about a year now, right?
Yes.
So why did you think to turn to CBD?
Well, in the midst of the cancer diagnosis, I also ended up tearing this rotator cuff and dislocating the shoulder. That was probably the most painful thing that I've ever endured in my life. It was out for 6 days, and I ended up having a big surgery on the shoulder in the midst of everything else that was going on.
And your cancer is not just breast cancer, it has metastasized other places?
It has metastasized to the sternum, and I have some lymph node involvement.
So is there pain related to that with the sternum? And,
yes.
And how does CBD make a difference?
And it's
there?
all on the same side, so it was hard to differentiate. But like Melissa was talking about, there's so much depression that comes with not only a cancer diagnosis, but I had been so active. At the time, I was running a route for FedEx at 55 years old and throwing freight every day, and very active person, and went to in the bed and not able to get up and do for myself, and my husband was having to take care of me, and it was not a situation that I felt like, okay, I'm just going to heal from this and it's going to be okay, because the diagnosis was pretty grim. And the prognosis was very grim. And
we know about a lot of people having medical marijuana because of the nausea associated with chemotherapy. You're still on chemotherapy, but did you try medical marijuana, and is there a difference as to how it works versus CBD?
Well, absolutely, and it just kind of goes in together. We finally kind of found the combination that was best for me to be able to help me. In regard to the breast cancer part of it, this kind of cancer tries to go to the brain. So for me, with the CBD that Alice puts together with the BCP, is a neuroprotectant, and that was very important to me, because anyone that's ever battled this knows that that's a game changer. If it goes to the brain, it's a whole different program, and it's given me a better outlook on life. It helps my pain tremendously. It helps my my attitude towards life and trying to get better and keep moving.
You mentioned your cancer is estrogen driven, and there is a component of THC that kind of works on that in the wrong way. So explain the difference there.
So THC has been known to drive estrogen. But the good news is the CBD, if you do 3 parts CBD to 1 part THC, it's therapeutic as opposed to not being beneficial.
Mm-hmm. So you use kind of a combination of the two.
I do.
But you have seen positive results more so with CBD than the medical marijuana?
Absolutely.
And me as well, especially having a traumatic brain injury. Fatigue is one of the worst parts of having a brain injury. And so THC furthers the fatigue. So balancing out with CBD just made it all better.
Do you like the idea that CBD typically does not give you that high per se? So would it not interfere with life? I mean, the CBD, how has it made it so that you can function better?
For me, it's made my whole outlook better and taken the pain away, because when you're in pain, it's really hard to be optimistic about life and to heal. You can't, so hard to heal when you're in that much pain. And so I was able to, there were different methods that I was using, the CBD, different ways to get it into my system, and trying to get as much in as I could to get to a level that where my body was helping itself heal itself.
So one of the things patients told us at Alice's store is that they would really like it if insurance covered this. Is that something that you've experienced as well? Is it, difficult because you're on other medications too?
It can be costly. Anything outside of what your insurance will take care of obviously can be costly, but it would be wonderful if the insurance companies would take a different look, approach.
For me, it would have been wonderful, because that's the only thing I used. I didn't take any prescription medications. I was too afraid to get addicted to opioids. I didn't want to take sleeping pills, and that's where the THC came in handy for me. It would help me sleep, and that's when your body heals, is when it's at rest.
Right.
So.
And so you both sometimes use both products. Do you use multiple CBD products, different styles of maybe an oral or any kind of creams or salves?
I put it everywhere I can. I mean, I take it internally, and then, of course, since I have so much pain from my bones, I do use the topical as well.
I do too.
All right. Well, thank you both for sharing your stories. We appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
When we come back, we talk with a retired nurse practitioner about CBD products and her own personal journey. As we go to break, a look at benefits of CBD being studied. Welcome back. We're talking about CBD products and how they can be misunderstood and confused with medical marijuana. Joining our conversation now is Dolores Vandergrift, a nurse practitioner whose husband had cancer. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So you did use CBD with your husband, but you also use it yourself. Tell us, as a nurse practitioner, was it a big leap to go from regular medicine to CBD?
Not for me, because even as a nurse practitioner, I was more into telling my patients the things that they could do healthy, help make them healthier, and not have to always rely on a chemical pill. And so it just was great, that I was able to do that. Because as a nurse practitioner, I have more time with my patients. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times the physician, not to say anything about them, but they don't. They may have to see 30 to 50 patients a day. Whereas a nurse practitioner, I could probably see 20 and get by with it, Mm-hmm. So I had more time to talk to my patients about ways to be healthy that didn't include chemical medications.
Mm-hmm. You yourself have used it, so tell us why you used CBD.
Okay, when I was diagnosed in my 30s with fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia is a syndrome. It's a basket of different symptoms, and most of it is pain. It's can't sleep, irritable bowel. It's just a basket full of them. So whenever I was diagnosed with it, they wanted to treat it with antidepressants. And I told them, I'm not depressed, and I didn't want to take an antidepressant. I just didn't want them. So I put up with poor sleep and with pain for a long time, until I came into with Alice and got on the CBD myself.
And you were aware of Alice when she herself had gotten sick, because you were both part of a saddle club. So tell us, did that convince you that, CBD products can make a big difference?
Of course. I mean, I knew Alice when she was vital and involved with her family, involved in our saddle club that we both were a part of. And to see, then I kind of lost contact. And then my grandson, he was over at her house, her husband was helping him work with the horse. So Alice was in the house, so I went in the house and she was in bed. And she was pretty well bedfast at that time. And so then after that, I lost contact with her again, you know, and then we come back in together. And so about the time Charlie got cancer, it'll be 5 years this December that he passed. And, you know, she helped me to help him. Gave me ideas of ways that he could be more comfortable and could go through this. He had lung cancer, and to go through this.
Do you think people understand the differences between CBD and medical marijuana, and what do you feel like it's important to highlight as the differences when people kind of lump this all together?
Well, I think that they don't know about either of them very much. You know, I think it's great we're doing something like this so people will have an understanding of the difference between CBD and THC. CBD, I mean, it was used 2,900 years ago. The Chinese, I mean, they use a lot of Eastern medicine. You come this way, they only want to use Western medicine. So we are learning more and more about CBD, and we're way behind the countries that do have the Eastern medicine. So,
what do you think are the benefits of CBD over medical marijuana?
Well, the benefits for CBD for me was I had a license as a nurse practitioner, as an RN, and if I was asked to take a urine test and it showed THC in or marijuana in my urine, I would no longer have a license, I would no longer have a job. And so when I really got to where I was taking it on a regular basis, Alice was able to guide me and show me the products that I could use as an RN with a license and get the help that I needed. So it really did. I sleep. I take mine mainly at night to sleep. But sometimes when we ride horseback and like that, I'm pretty sore when we get done, so I can take the CBD. And it comes like in a lollipop. And so like if I've been really super active, then I can do the lollipop and I begin to relax and my muscles begin to relax, and so I feel better.
All right. Well, Dolores Vandergriff, thank you for sharing your story and being with us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks to all our guests for sharing their experiences with CBD and THC products and defining the differences. And thanks to you for watching Newsmakers. I'm Lisa Allegas.